So people who argue that we need more than just the victim's testimony will say things like, I can't just believe her because that wouldn't be fair to him. What we seriously need to look at as a society is that what is not fair is the fact that 99% of perpetrators are currently not being held accountable. We are failing to hold so many offenders accountable that we have effectively decriminalized rape in our society. That is what is not fair. Instead of holding offenders accountable, we take all these victims, call them false accusers, and then realize that, oh, actually, they have really awful mental problems now. And they're like about a third of them are like committing suicide. So like, what are we going to do? We're just going to stick them in the mental health hospitals and then brush off our hands and say that we did our job. That is what is unfair. Also, what is unfair is the disservice that we are doing to our men and boys. Because by not holding them accountable, we are depriving them of an education surrounding sexual assault and rape. We are depriving them of treatment. We are depriving them of an opportunity to learn and grow and to become a better person. We are depriving our entire society of a better education about rape and consent. That is what is unfair. So, the argument, of course, is going to be that just because we know statistically, if we are paying attention to the statistics, that this man accused of sexual assault actually is guilty, we can't just accuse him of that based on the statistics. We have to take this on a case-by-case basis and evaluate the evidence on a case-by-case basis. And while, yes, that is true, we also need to confront the narratives in our society that are keeping us from believing victims to the point that 99% of perpetrators of sexual assault are not being held accountable. So this narrative of, I can't just believe her because that wouldn't be fair to him, needs to end. You are capable of evaluating the victim's credibility and the veracity of her testimony. What it takes is getting a thorough education about sexual assault, confronting the biases that you have right now inside of you, and pushing back against the culture that is telling you that women often lie about being raped. Over the years, as advocates have brought up this problem with our leaders, and we've showed them the numbers. Look, here are the numbers. We can see that rape is occurring at this frequency in our society. It's being underreported at this frequency, and it's being underconvicted at this frequency. And our leaders will nod their heads and they'll say, okay, yeah, that's a problem. We can recognize that. And then nothing changes. And the reason why nothing changes is because they keep looking for a solution in the wrong place. They keep thinking, oh, it's because we need more evidence. These cases don't have enough evidence. We just need to get the investigators to investigate the cases better. We need to generate better evidence. But what that has led to, what we see as we examine the last 40 years, is that more and more evidence has been generated for these cases. And not only has it not led to more convictions, but convictions have been decreasing over the years. Rape kits came out in the 70s to help collect evidence from victims in hospitals. They are widely used today. Probably about 50% of victims who report an assault have had a rape kit done. DNA is not always found, but in about half of the cases where rape kits were administered, DNA evidence is found. Now that we've entered this age where there's this proliferation of smartphones, people do have video evidence a lot of times of their assault, or audio evidence, or photographic evidence, or a written or audio recorded confession from the rapist. As technology has progressed, we do now have a lot more evidence for these cases. So why is it that we still see so few rapists being held accountable? The reason is because it was never the evidence. Lack of evidence is not the problem. Saying that lack of evidence is the problem in these cases is misdiagnosing the issue. The problem is this myth that women often lie about being raped. It distorts the way that fact finders view the evidence. It makes them discount the evidence that they are being given. That, combined with a lack of education on the true facts of sexual assault, leads to fact finders coming to completely erroneous conclusions. So yes, over the years we've had rape kits created. Rebecca Campbell came out with all of that research about trauma and how it works in the brain, and how the behaviors that victims were displaying that police used to interpret as signs of lying were actually symptoms of trauma. Now we have this proliferation of trauma-informed training for police officers and prosecutors. We've had investigative journal series that have dug into the shortcomings of our legal system, that have brought to light the extreme injustice that is being given to these cases. We get promises from our leaders that things are going to change, and they haven't. Number of convictions has not gone up. Number of convictions has not gone up. Number of convictions has not gone up. All of this research has come out about how few reports are actually false, about how common rape and sexual assault are in our society, about how few offenders are being held accountable, and especially comparing those numbers to other violent crimes. And still nothing has changed. And the reason why is because we have yet to confront the true reason why these cases are not being given justice. And the reason is that as a society, we have this enormous cultural push, this enormous cultural momentum to think that people alleging that they have been raped are lying, and that this happens at a high frequency. This is the reality that we are going to have to face as a society if we ever want to reduce sexual violence within our communities. Right now, we are giving the stamp of approval to rapists. We are telling them what you are doing is A-okay. We are telling victims that what happened to them does not matter. Our current solution to rape is to take all those women who are being raped and stick them in mental health institutions, and to let the rapists just keep doing what they're doing, just keep creating more victims. This is a public health issue on a massive scale. If we are ever going to reduce sexual violence in our society, we first have to admit that it is a problem. We first have to admit how much of it is going on. We have to admit that all of these victims reporting assault are not lying. We are going to have to come to grips with the fact that we as a society have been lying to ourselves by saying that these women who are reporting assault are liars. Asking for more evidence in these cases is never going to solve the problem, because that was never the issue. The issue is, and has always been, that you believe that women often lie about being raped. That it is common that when someone alleges rape, that they're lying about it. That belief is what is keeping you from accepting and believing the evidence that you are given. There is this other issue that our institutions fear retaliation from the rapists more than they fear the victims. They fear being sued by the rapist who was held accountable more than they fear the victim. This isn't about what's doing right, it's about self-preservation. And in our society, all of the cards are stacked against the victim. Society has bought in so strongly to this idea that women often lie about being raped, that the power of all of our institutions are on the side of the rapists. So when you say, I can't just believe her because it wouldn't be fair to him, that is actually being unfair to all of us.